You're an inspiration for our people. Keep up the good work. Stay well, Pete. So anyway, next time I go to Tanzania, I'm going to stop. But I have to hurry because, see, they're not teenagers. I don't know if you saw that thing that they did on them. And yeah, they was laying up. They was older. Well, I ain't no teenager myself, but they're older than I am. And they had malaria. Remember they was getting over malaria? And I said, man, I better hurry up and get around because all my own folks is leaving. It ain't no joke. I mean, they're not young. And they're living nice periods of time. You know, somebody die 80 years old, that ain't bad. They done pulled it off. But anyway, let me get adjusted here. The title, well, title might come out to be anything the way I got all this stuff spread over. The title is Family Appeal. And the reason it's about the family appeal is because I want to talk a little bit about my direct family. If you remember, not long ago, we was doing a program with Iran, and we was doing it with here, and the one we were doing here, they were copying it in Iran, and the ones we did down there, it went directly to you. You know, it was a few little programs. So I'll just start off where this is from 7/26/81. I come before you at a grave time in history. When we have lost pride in self and others, loss of confidence in God, country, mom, apple pie, economic disaster, unemployment, cut-offs, cutbacks. You know, that was the beginning of those days when they're really cutting back and cutting off. They're still doing it now, but that was when America was big and running good, and now this is the beginning of cutbacks and cutoffs. And puppet leadership, collaborators, fear of reprisals, cop-outs, sellouts, and punk-outs. And that's what we was talking about. That's the way it looked then. Remember, this is 10 years after the rebellion. It's 81. And we're writing this, and we're organizing all of this in prison because we didn't came back. We made a decision years before. If we're going to struggle, will you struggle above ground or underground? The BLA, Black Liberation Army, Brother Sekou never showed. A lot of them was in exile. And we studied that. Imam Jamil them had been in exile, but I didn't meet him then. He was going a little ahead of me, you know. In fact, when he was going to trial, when I was over there, because he got sent up in 72 or something like that, yeah. But anyway, we had made an analysis. Like before we went overseas, we made an analysis. That's what I recognize now, that we didn't just jump up and do anything, that we always studied our situation. So when I was over there, I'm studying our situation here. and where we are. So I come to the conclusion, after talking to all the brothers, that you can't have a successful revolution from underground. Because if you do, study all the groups. If you're underground movement, you specialize in bombings, destabilization, and all of those things, right? But when you win and you get the government, you don't know how to run a government. Because you're a professional at destabilizing, nor do you have anybody in the government. But if you work above ground, it's like here. We know how to run a government. Why? Strategic management under conditions of repression. You have to plan, organize. You know, even on our level, you know, right, what you have to deal with, and you have a process. Well, if we want to go here, we have to set a goal to get there. Now, and then all we have to do, if we know where we want to go, we're almost there, because all we have to do now is figure out how to get there. See, the hardest part is knowing where to go, right? There's an old saying, revolutionary saying, I would rather know where to go and not know how to get there than how to get there and not know where. That's a tongue twister, but here's what that means. In those days, the United States knew how to do anything. It could go to outer space. It could, it could do anything it wanted to do. Like right now, it still has the power. In our group, at one time we had, say, 8 functioning centers, right, of our own. All of them packed with people, just like this used to be packed. All those places were packed. We had everybody there. We had immigrants. Oh, I'm telling you, it was a big show. Okay? So, and all of them was the police. This was our place in LA right here. As-Sabiqun. Or one of them. This is all the kids there at UCLA, all the immigrants, kids, all of them people. There's a whole crew of sisters, Yeah. So, in other words, if the government wanted to restart a movement, remember, MSA West, which was what we was doing out there, MSA West had gotten as powerful as the MSA itself. The MSA West, they had all these kids, all these are all at the universities. Hey, I was going everywhere, Stanford, UCLA, and they were all government workers. The whole thing was government workers. But remember, if the government want to build a masjid and fill it up with people, or 50 masajid, they could almost snap their fingers and do it. They got the people, they got the imams, they got everything. They can do that. So, if they wanted to do it, they could, but they won't do it. It's better to know where to go and not know how to get there. We got to work to do all of that. In fact, when they pull the cord, all of those people, all those people you see, they all gone. Where did they go? Nobody knows. One of them, Ahmed Shama, come in here and asked, Imam Musa, what do you want us to do with our bayah? I said, what was that, 12 years ago? Y'all took bayah? I ain't seen you in 12 years. Right? I ain't seen you in 12 years. So, I didn't even give him an answer. I said, it's a ridiculous question. You're going to come in here, and you done seen everything that's been going on. This is only a year or so ago. And y'all closed down this place, closed down another place, You know what I mean? And the whole student movement is all defunct. Just like that. They build it up just like that, and they close it down just like that. So, they don't know where to go. Like right now, they don't know what to do. The government, they just had the Democratic convention, they don't know what to do. They don't have any idea. The stuff they're talking about is the same stuff they've been talking about for the last zillion years, and if they did everything that they said they was going to do, it wouldn't amount to nothing. The oceans are still going to boil over, all the stuff going on. Hey man, every time you hear the news, remember we was listening to the news the other day, the little hair-like plastics they got in the ocean?
Right, microplastics. Right?
They could skim along the ocean and pick up, they say there's so much space they pick up with a screen, but tons of, 21 tons of microplastic just going around a few blocks. And the fish is eating the microplastic and dying of starvation because they think it's food. It's been happening. And they're not saying, well, we got to fix it. If they came up and said, okay, we're going to nationalize this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. If you think staying at home the other day, we're going to take all the ships in the shipyard and we're going to put big nets to drag and clean up the ocean, and we're going to do. If they said that, they would be talking about something. If they say we don't need no more production for another 10 years. We don't need no new cars, which we don't. We don't need no new cars. We don't need no more plastic. Finish. No more plastic. In fact, we're going to collect all the plastic we can and stack it up somewhere and put dirt on top of it and make a mountain out of it. And we're going to have them all over America. All the plastic, you know what I mean? We're going to cover it up with 20 feet of dirt or something. Stacked high as Empire State Building. We're going to make a mountain out of plastic. Build mountains out of plastic. And plant trees and stuff. Right? Because the stuff don't do. One white boy in UC Berkeley, I was talking to him, he says, well, what difference does it make if you make, and he pointed to a white desk kind of show. You make that desk out of plastic or make it out of wood? I said, only thing wood, you put it outside and let it stay there, it's going to decompose soon. I said, it's going to take 10,000 years, right, for that thing to decompose. That's what they were saying then. It may be more, it may be less. The point is, it's better to know where to go. It's better for us to know what we should do with our lives, what we should do as far as humanity is concerned. The new world that we should be working to make and fix, right? It's better to know where to go and not have all the facilities. They say, well, how are you going to do that? I say, I don't know, but I know that's where we ought to go. It's better to have that in your mind than to have the facilities to fix everything that's going wrong and not have the backbone or the brains to do it. You see what I mean? So it's all very simple. But anyway, these are all pictures of Hezbollah and people like that. But the point is, anybody ever heard of Sharpsville? Sharpsville, 1961 or 32, something like that, where they slaughtered all of those people. This is the Imam of Sharpsville. This is Roshni. I was so proud to be sitting in their little masjid, and he was talking about Zionism and all of those. I said, man, this is deep. You know, this is deep. And Sharpsville is right next to a town called Roshni. Anyway, let me get back to wherever it was that I was. Okay. So I opened up with the idea of we got to cut the umbilical cord to Washington, D.C. or to Sacramento in California. In other words, all the things that are wrong, we have to do them ourselves. And I call this family appeal because I'm reaching out to some of my family. And the first one I'll deal with is, well, you know who I'm talking to. She dealt with our house and property out there, Section 8. You know, it was on Section 8. And now it's a junkyard. It's a real junkyard. But it was 3 break-ins there. In the back, not in the front, in the back. Where I had my office, I had the library, had all the As-Sabiqun. It was a working office. Basically, it was a 1-bedroom apartment. I used the living room as an office, the bedroom to sleep in, the kitchen to cook. And so that was a real, that was a few, 7, 8, 9 years ago, during that period. But there were break-ins there, and when I would come, sometimes the refrigerator would be full of meat. And of course, I'm a vegetarian. So what I'm saying is that my relative was cooperating with the United States government and have been for a long time. Not only one relative, almost all of my relatives. Because the government had, when I was going through this stuff years ago, all of my family was right there with me. They would look at here. They'd hear something at the church. My sister would be right there. They'd trying to find me. One of the police at the church would have heard, the black police, they just hired a few black police, had been and heard something about me. And that police would tell my sister, that's the church they go to, Allen Temple. So they would be coming around, running to find me. In those days, and all my relatives know this, one day Chief Game, that's the murderer police chief out there in Oakland, and a red lieutenant, they came to the church. This is when there's a preacher that just came there in 1970, and now he has built a whole complex around it. But he don't know what to do. But anyway, he was a new preacher then. He was new at the church. So I was big up there on 85th. I was when I was doing the Godfather days. So the police chief was talking about, oh, we got to clean up Oakland and da-da-da-da. They were saying, thank the Lord. That's right. And all of that. Then they said, the place we need to start is right up there on 85th. This is a block away. And then they mentioned my name. The church got quiet. Police didn't know what happened. They didn't say another word. And my mother wasn't there. See, we was heavy in the church, even now. So the police chief, when the police chief left, see, the only one that was still agreeing was the new preacher. He's big there, J. Alvin Smith, he's big now. Been big for decades. So he didn't know. So he kept, yes, Lord, and all of that stuff. So the rest of the people say, when the police chief left and the lieutenant, he said, don't you know who they talking about, Reverend Smith? That boy And that, because I was a bad little boy in the neighborhood, not a mean little boy, but everybody liked me, but I just, just pulling girls in hair, anything, nothing harmful. So, you know who he was talking about? That boy's family is all in this church. And I needed everybody was there, except my father, of course, being my father. And I used to be there. I was going to get baptized when I was 12, and I snuck out the side door. But that's okay. That's okay. So we were well known in that area, well known. So anyway, the preacher, he just didn't know. And I got arrested a few years back for nothing. And they couldn't arrest me for no crime. So it's called 5150. I don't know if they even have it in D.C. It's like they're arresting you. You're a danger to yourself. So the police arrested me, and they say, yeah, you're a danger to yourself. So you're going to go see John George. So I said, John George is dead. He was a black councilman like in Oakland. And they named the psychiatric ward in the hospital John George. It's still out there now. So they couldn't arrest me on anything physical. They said, you are a danger to yourself. So we're going to take you to see John George. That's the time they arrested me, and they brought the ambulance and locked me down in there. You know what I mean? Tie you up. And then they took my blood pressure. They said, your blood pressure is 275 over. So I said, that's a damn lie. I said, if my blood pressure was 275, my eyes would be busted out. You know what I mean? I'd be, it's not possible. But every time I got examined by them, or even here when I was arrested, they say the same thing. Your blood pressure is 275 over something or other. And then even, not to change the subject, but they arrested me and took me to John George. When I got to John George, I told them, first of all, the guard down there, Imam Musa, So I said, yeah. So then there was a lady, an old nurse there. I said, Reverend Smith, no, I said, what church do you go to? She said, I go to the Highland Temple. I said, would you call Reverend J. Alfred Smith and tell him they got Miss Ring, the boy up here. Because they see me all the